phone. Please remain standing. Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for bringing all of us together tonight, for the citizens that care about Chester County and come to our meetings on a regular basis. Thank you, Lord, for all our blessings, which are many. Please guide us as we make decisions for the betterment of our county and guide us throughout our daily lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, so our first order of business today is a special presentation of the J. Mitchell Graham Award. Today we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Bill Robinson from Allendale County. He serves as a member of council there in Allendale, and he's accompanied by his wife, Ms. Robinson. We really welcome y'all to Chester County. We're so glad to have you here. So for this time, I'll call for you to come forward, and we've got you first on the agenda. So y'all can do this, and you can head home if you'd like. So
great. And again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to member of Chester County Council. Thank you for this opportunity to address you this evening. As the chairman say, I'm Bill Robinson, president of the South Carolina Association of Counties. It is my pleasure to recognize your county as the 2024 J. Mitchell Graham Memorial Award winner. And that's saying a lot. 2024 J. Mitchell Graham Memorial Award winner. You won this with your project, which entitled Enhancing Emergency Response, Leveraging Technology for a Coordinated Effort to Protect Schools. I was talking with Mr. Darby earlier, and one of the things that I was impressed as I saw some of the presentation and read about the project, the catalyst here was the schools. You brought in your agency, 10 different agencies, and the mutual aid agreement with the neighboring counties. But what started as a school project turned out to be a countywide project. So it mushroomed schools to the entire Chester County community, which is wonderful. And you did that by also developing and implementing a mobile app. And that mobile app actually, to me, was the key. We were talking earlier about the technology. With the technology we have today, you were able to make use of that mobile app. And what happens when you open that mobile app out? You was able to put in what we call citronal example of awareness and the coordination between emergency agency. That app allows you to have at least 30 different incidents. And with 30 different incidents, you were able to cover the whole, anything that would happen here in Chester County, that app will be there for you. But when you have mutual aid of your neighboring counties and you have 10 agencies coming together to help develop that, and it mushroomed, which is great. Your county efforts embodies the spirit of the J. Mitchell Graham Award for Innovation. It not only improves emergency response, operation, and protect children, but it also serves as an example that other community can follow. The J. Mitchell Grimm Memorial Award was established in 1973 to recognize counties that address community challenges, implement operational improvement, or enhance residents' quality of life in a very unique way. And you've done that. Lastly, as you're aware, I know Mr. Darby, Ms. Knutson certainly, as well as Brian, we awarded the J. Mitchell Grimm Award at our fall advocacy meeting. But one of the things we want to do is come here locally within your community and share that. And we're happy to do that tonight. The success of your team, and I'd say to council, you should be proud of your team. It's an honor to be the number one, the winner. We have runner-ups, which is always the case. But to be a winner with such a project that touches from one end of the county to the next and provides services for the entire community. I'd like to say to council, to Mr. Hester, Mr. Darby, and Ms. Knutson, and also the county council. What you've done here is a leading, innovative effort, which is a shining example of the best in local government. On behalf of SCAC, thank you, Chester County, for your dedication to improving community of county government. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Hester, do you have a few words?
Brian?
Also, ask if Mr. Darby has any words he'd like to say.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Darby, if you'd like to come up, I've already bragged about our team winning this back in the fall, but definitely welcome
Yeah,
Mr.
both
Darby
of
up.
y'all come up, please.
Well, we're real honored for emergency management to be recognized by the Association of Counties and really to be able to bring this award to Chester County. Because as I look on those plaques, the little names around the award, you know, Chester's not there. It is now. So very good project. I knew it was. And Laura Kunze, my deputy director, she, you know, most of the credit goes to her. I think of a lot of things to do, and she takes it and runs with it, and she makes it happen. So, you know, she steers the boat in the right direction to get these things done and these technical things done. So, you know, a lot of praise to her and her efforts. And thank you, Mr. Robinson, for being here tonight. And would you like to say?
Chester County, this was not an individual effort, this was a county effort. So leadership, the technology is easy, the people is the hard part, and they all came to the plate. So, very good job.
Are there any comments by council?
I can't express how proud I am for Chester County to bring this award home. I appreciate you guys' hard work, and congratulations. Thank you to Mr. Robinson for driving here from how important this is when you've got every county in South Carolina competing for it, and only one winner every year. Thank you for coming.
All right, so again, thank you so much. That was really, it's an honor for y'all to take the time to come here and to present that award. It really makes it special. Thank you. Mo-
Oh, photo,
Sure thing.
everybody.
Yep, so we're gonna get a picture real quick, if we could,
time.
before you leave. All right.
Short people in the back.
I'm gonna stay behind him.
Hey. Here, I'm good. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so next up, we have item 4A, which is the February 3rd, 2025 council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve February 3rd, 2025 council minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Next, we have the item 4B, which is the February 10th, 2025 council workshop minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve February 10th council workshop minutes.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 Wasn't at the meeting.
All right. And that motion carries. So next, we have citizen comments, and we don't have any citizen comments today. That takes us to item 6, which is the public hearing. Today, we have a public hearing for ordinance, item A is ordinance 2025-1, and we do not have anyone signed up to speak for that. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Next, we have ordinance 2025-2, which is, we do have one for Princeton New Energy. What number is that, Mr. Hester? I don't want to pass
That's
over that
project
one.
2280.
So that
Or,
would
I'm
be,
sorry, hold on.
that would be which item on the agenda? What's that?
Karen, can you help me out on project number? 22,
70.
okay, so it's E.
E, okay, all right, so when we get there, we do have someone for E. For item 6B, ordinance 2025-2, I don't have anyone signed up to speak. 6C is ordinance 2025-3, no one signed up to speak. D is ordinance 2025-4, no one signed up to speak. And then E is ordinance 2025-5, and that is an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of agreement by and between Chester County and Project P 2373, the inclusion of certain real property located in Chester County in a multi-county industrial park, the provision of credits against fee in lieu of tax payments, the execution and delivery of such documents as may be necessary to effect the intent of this ordinance and other matters related thereto. We have one person signed up to speak. That would be Janet Robertson, so I'll call you forward at this time. If you'll please state your name again and your address, and once you do that, then you'll have 3 minutes to address council. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Janet Robertson. I'm the Director of Government Affairs and Communications for Princeton New Energy. Thank you, Chairman Wilson, County Administrator Hester, members of the council. I'm here to say thank you. We appreciate so much your support. We've found a wonderful new home here in Chester County. We had our groundbreaking last June, and since then we've moved very quickly. Pleased to let you know that our equipment has arrived and is being assembled inside the factory. What we will be doing is processing advanced black mass for lithium-ion batteries. It's primarily dry manufacturing scrap from battery manufacturing plants. This is our first stage of a two-stage build, and we hope in the future we'll be also creating our second larger facility. We were happy to welcome several of you down to our pilot project in McKinney, Texas, a year and a half ago. It's very nice to see you again, to familiarize you with our process. So I just want to say thank you, and we just really appreciate your support, and are excited, and things have been going really well, and we look forward to welcoming you to our commissioning in a month or two.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so that was the only person signed up to speak for item 6E. Is there anyone else for any of the public hearings in the audience who would like to speak? If not, then I will state that this public hearing is closed, and we will move on to number 7. So 7A is the second reading of ordinance 2025-6. It's an ordinance to dissolve the Chester County Rural Fire Board, to create the Chester County Fire Service Board, to provide for the governance, to create the purpose and implementation, to define the authority and scope, and other related matters. Is there a motion on the table? Is there a motion to be had?
I'll make a motion, we approve the second reading of ordinance 2025-6.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve this ordinance and a second. Is there any discussion? Have anything, Mr. Hester, for us?
I think, I did have a few questions by council members. I think I clarified some of the wording, or just kind of gave a little more clarification. I did go and speak at the Chiefs Association a week ago, I believe it was, and read through the ordinance word for word, explained some of the areas in detail, and left there with very good feedback from the Chiefs Association, who would actually be the members of the board as well. And I think once there was an understanding of kind of what this ordinance would look like, and we had a draft in place, some of the concerns were alleviated. The only thing that we do have a proposed change to 5.02 bullet point 3, and it's a more of a administrative change, but that bullet point, we would like to add a sentence that says, and for everybody's knowledge, that bullet point basically says if the fire chief is unable to serve on the board, so the fire chief of a specific district or department, then they shall appoint an officer to represent the district and serve on the fire board. The appointment shall be provided in writing to the chairperson as notification of district's appointment. We want to add the appointment should follow department rank structure if feasible. So that basically means that the next in line would be for that district board to appoint the assistant chief if the fire chief couldn't serve. If the assistant chief couldn't serve, then a captain or someone in a ranking position. So just a little clerical wording change. We'd like a motion to amend that, and then we want a motion also to amend that the board, let me find what section it was in, be 6.04, and it's upon approval of the meeting minutes by the Fire Service Board, the meeting minutes shall be forwarded to the county council, within 30 days. We'd like to change that to 7 days to be forwarded to county council, since our full-time staff would be chairing the meeting and a staff person would be taking the minutes. We don't think 7 days is unreasonable to forward the minutes to council, at least a draft set of those meetings until they're fully approved. We don't think that would be an issue. So 2 proposed changes. If council is agreeable with that and doesn't have any other questions, just a motion to accept those changes and approval also. So you guys maybe amend your original motion to accept it, second reading, but accept it with the changes.
So we can either do it like we normally do it and withdraw the current motion and restate it, or we can make a motion to amend.
I'll withdraw my second.
Okay.
I'll withdraw the motion.
All right. Would you want to restate it?
Yes, I'll restate it as approved second reading of ordinance with amendments 5.02 and 6.04.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to approve with those 2 amendments included. Is there any more discussion? If not, I will call for the vote for the second reading of ordinance 2025-6. All of those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, it carries. Next, we have 7B, which is a resolution 2025-5, providing for changes to the county employee personnel handbook relating to parental leave, professional conduct and workplace relationships, recruitment procedures, holidays, and annual leave, and providing for other related matters.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2025-5.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Item 7C is a resolution 2025-6, which is to gift a service weapon to Deputy Charles McKenzie. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the gifting of 2025-6, the service weapon to Deputy Charles McKenzie.
I'll second.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Mr. Hester, do you have any words on that? The sheriff was in here and he just stepped out. Or is he-
No, just, so he was here over 50, I'm sorry.
He just walked in. Sheriff Dorsey, he walked in just in time. We're talking about the gifting the service weapon to Deputy Charles McKenzie. Would you want to just say a couple of words about that? I know
Y'all have the resolution,
we do. We have the resolution.
all well said there, so
All right.
thank y'all for
Sounds good. And I remind folks that our agenda packets are online, so I really encourage you to go online and check out our agenda packets, and there you'll find the resolution that really spells out his service to this county. And so,
And just for the public's knowledge, that with 15 years of service or more, statutorily, that's where this comes from, as well as it's ordinance-driven as well, so.
all right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. All right, next is item 7D, which is consideration of Woodhaven Phase 1 bond reduction. Mr. Hester, would you want to speak to that?
Actually, Mr. Kozlarek is going to speak to that for us.
Every time.
My apologies. Every time I come up here, I get shocked. If I may, I'm going to sort of address D and E together, even though one is the reduction of the Phase 1 bond and one is the approval of the Phase 2 bond. Anytime there is a portion of a project that involves public infrastructure, typically you think of things like roads, water, sewer, those types of things. They are required to be bonded by state law. Whether that's something that the county is doing directly through a contractor or it's part of a development as it is here, and they are handling that infrastructure, but it is still public infrastructure. So speaking to E first, for the second phase of that development, there is a payment and performance bond that is essentially being asked to be approved by council according to the land use regulations in the county to cover that portion of the project that is the public infrastructure. And again, what the payment and performance bond, there's two different bonds. Most people think of bonds, they either think of borrowing or they think of some sort of criminal activity. Neither of those are correct. In this instance, what you're talking about is a surety that is going to ensure that if the contractor either defaults in the performance of the work or defaults in the payment of suppliers or subcontractors, then the bonding company actually essentially makes whole so that the infrastructure can be completed. The ordinance requires that council approve either the reduction of an existing bond as the infrastructure is performed or put in place, or on the front end, the approval of a bond to start with. The bonding amounts are reviewed by a professional engineer who's licensed in the state of South Carolina. They are presented to a zoning administrator to review to ensure that those meet the scope of the project, again, either before the project is begun or as the project is moving through for a reduction. And then the zoning or the land use regulations require that that be presented to council for its approval. This is something that happens, I'd say, several times a year. I think, Mr. Raines, since you've been on council, this will be the first time, I believe, that this will have happened. In lots of other communities, just as an aside, this is not something that is presented to council. It is usually handled within the planning or zoning department. So that is something council may consider as a policy going forward, that there are a lot of local governments that do not have a formal approval at the council level, that it is done administratively within that department, much the way the zoning administrator handles lots of the same kinds of administrative items. With respect to D and E separately, one is the conclusion or close to the closing out of the Phase 1 infrastructure. It's my understanding that Mr. Levister did go out to the project in addition to having the certification from the professional engineer, reviewed the project himself on the ground and is comfortable, as I understand it, with the reduction amount, and likewise reviewed the approval request, which is sub-item E, and also, again, reviewed the professional engineer certification of the cost estimates and is comfortable with the bond amount. And the county attorney and I have both reviewed the form of the payment and performance bonds, and I am comfortable with those forms of the bonds themselves.
Out of curiosity, where is that at?
Where is the?
Where did he go look at X?
Village Drive, Woodhaven subdivision on Village Drive.
Right over here.
Oh, behind the church?
Yes, sir.
The actual project itself, the location of where the project is located and the Phase 2 will be located.
I'm a little slow because I'm from Richburg, but I figured it out.
No, sir. Again, every time I walk up here, I get shocked, so I'm not going to comment on it.
So tonight, we're looking for approval for both of these items?
Yes, sir.
Or we're looking for a discussion.
Certainly, you could do them separately, and that's the way they're listed. But one is the reduction of an existing bond as Phase 1 is being closed out. One is the approval for the Phase 2 bond as it is beginning.
Do we need a motion?
We do.
Yep.
I make a motion, we approve the consideration of Woodhaven Phase 1 bond reduction. Item D.
Second.
All right, is there a motion and a second? Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Next, we have the consideration of Woodhaven Phase 2 bond approval.
White man, I'll make a motion, we accept Woodhaven Phase 2 bond approval.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Mr. Hester, next we have our administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I know those of you that pay attention to us on Facebook and you know that our landfill transfer station will be closed February 20th through the 24th. Now, what does this mean for the citizens of Chester? Doesn't mean anything. It means your garbage is still going to get picked up, and the recycle centers are going to operate normally, but our transfer station where our carrier drops that waste and then loads it into a much bigger truck, that area is being new concrete put down. It's been in need, and that money was approved in this past year's budget, and so we've got the permitting and everything in place, and they're going to begin that project on Thursday. So our MSW waste, which is the household garbage that normally goes to the transfer station, will be picked up from all sites on Wednesday. So we'll have clean, empty containers at all sites. Our anticipation is that that will last us until Monday when the project is done, because allow time for that concrete to sit and cure, and then we'll be able to start back operation. There is a backup plan that if we do have to remove one of our compactors, that we will either go to Lancaster or go directly to Columbia with those containers in the meantime. But that project should be finished by Monday of next week. Wanted to just update council that everything is moving forward with the Dawson Drive Baseball Complex, the donation from Springs. We're in the process of Phase 1 environmental. As soon as that Phase 1 environmental is done on the property, and again, that's just sort of a process that we go through to protect ourselves before we take possession of that property. But that study's being done, and then as soon as it's done, we'll move forward with to closing on the donation from Springs for that baseball complex. March 3rd meeting, just to inform everyone, we will be putting on the agenda for a special called CTC meeting to discuss DOT funds. Well, I shouldn't say DOT funds, to discuss DOT roads that we have not totally met our 25%. Based on some adjustments and estimates of numbers, so we need to pick another road or two. We're going to give council a couple of options, but we need to ensure that we hit that 25% number so we don't lose any of that money. So there'll just be a chance for you all to make some choices on roads. Update on Lewis Fire Station, which is a capital project sales tax initiative. It has reached what we call substantial completion. I think the final punch list Mr. Hayes went over today, that I think landscaping is about the only other item that we're working on to make sure it meets code, but that project will be completed by the end of this month. Rodman Sports Complex is on track for completion in mid-June. Little bit of pushback just due to the bad weather we've had and the snowy conditions, and otherwise the contractor has been doing an amazing job of keeping up with that project and staying on track aside from the, we'll call it the snowy and rainy and wet weather we've had this winter. We did make a few, I think it's positive changes within the concession stand, to where we actually made sure that that concession stand will be able to house fryers, cookers, hood for cooking food within inside that clubhouse, as opposed to the way it's been done in the past. And many clubhouses do it, or concession stands do it, where they do it outside and then serve the food from inside. But we took some initiative there and made some changes to where it's really going to be a very, very nice concession stand facility. The animal shelter completion date. I know council asked me one of the last meetings what the completion date for was. So they're slated to start February 20th on the project, and they have 360 days to complete. I'm sorry, February 25th is the start date. They have 360 days, so that would make it February 20th of 2026 is the expected completion date of that project. And then lastly, Mr. Darby, as always, is keeping an eye out on the wintry weather and keeping me updated. So far, we don't expect too much in the way of winter precipitation, but things can change rapidly, and we're keeping an eye out, and we'll keep everyone up to date as to county facilities and weather conditions and forecasts as well. And that concludes my administrator's report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. So next, we have our consent agenda. So items 9A, which is the third reading of CCMA 24-16. B, which is the third reading of ordinance 2025-1. C, which is the third reading of ordinance 2025-2. D, which is the third reading of ordinance 2025-4. E, third reading of ordinance 2025-5. And F, the second reading of ordinance 2025-3. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion, we approve consent agenda, A through F.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve A through F of the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. All in favor? Agenda item 10 is old business, and from the Transportation Committee, CCTC, we have A, which is the reimbursement approval for road and sign materials to the Chester County Roads Department in the amount of $98,634.42. This was actually from a previous meeting that we did not get this approved on our regular council agenda, so we're going to do it tonight.
I make a motion, we approve the reimbursement for road and sign materials in the amount of $98,634.42.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your hand to say aye.
Aye.
Those
Oh,
opposed?
yeah.
In favor? All right.
They got something going on, and when they all left, I don't know what it is.
All right, so the motion carries. Next, we have item 10A. The second item is the consideration of the usage of one-time monies in the amount of $100,000 to fund small projects. So we'll need approval of that as well, Mr. Hester?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consideration of usage of the one-time monies in the amount of $100,000 to fund small projects.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
What would be an example of that?
A couple of examples would be, one would be Bradley Street, which we discussed the last meeting. One would be replacing a culvert and repairing on Silverbrook, those types of projects.
Okay, that's fine.
Is there any more discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. All in favor? All right, so number 11 is new business. We have the fiscal year 2024 audit report. I invite our treasurer, Tommy Darby, forward to give that to us today.
Good evening. So each of council should have a copy of our fiscal year 2024 audit report. And so you should have a hard copy of that. We also have a copy on our website under finance that the public can review as well. First, I just want to say thank you to our staff, finance staff. There's a lot of long hours that go into prepping the audit and getting all the information for our auditors together. So I just want to thank them for their hard work. Just a couple comments before I turn it over to Mr. Wood. The council had put a fund balance policy in place a few years ago, and so good news this year, we're based on the fund balance that we have from the audit, we're going to put about $1.1 million into capital reserve. And so per the audit, our fund balance was, I think, about 18.3 million, and with the capital reserve, our total fund balance would be about $21.1 million. So that's a testament to the staff and the fiscal responsibility that the county's kind of put in place and the way they've budgeted and done a good job of managing the budget. So that's good news. I have Mark Wood. He's going to do a little presentation on the details of the audit. He is with Shaheen, Hancock, and Godwin. He is our auditor, I guess, for the last 2 years. This will be the second year. So I'll turn it over to him. And I also want to appreciate, say an appreciation for him and his staff. They're very professional, and they've done a good job with the report. So I appreciate them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Darby, for those kind words. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of council, county administrator. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Everybody should have received a little handout tonight, and this is what we'll go through. I think it'll be easier than trying to flip through a bunch of pages in the audit report. So if you'll turn to page 1, that's what we'll go through. So the county received an unmodified opinion. That's the highest opinion we can give on a set of financial statements, so congratulations for that. The audit was submitted on time this year. This, as Mr. Darby said, this is our second year, and so we were able to get everything done and submitted to the state by the January 1st deadline. So that was taken care of. Number 1, just kind of gives you an outline of the audit report. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's, besides our opinion letter up front, there's 2 more letters that are in the compliance section. One is an internal control letter, and it basically just says that we've tested internal controls and we didn't find anything. So there's no findings in the audit report. The second letter deals with your expenditures of federal awards. And that report's going to say that we didn't find any deficiencies in how you spent your federal awards. You spent all your federal awards that we tested in compliance with federal guidelines. So that's always a good thing. I'm going to go through 2, 3, and 4. You want to go back and look at the details of how these numbers come from. I'll give you the page numbers of where these come out of the audit report. So for number 2, for the general fund, this is going to come out of page 13. So your total assets are $43.2 million. Your total liabilities are $24.8. So that leaves a fund balance of $18.3 million. That's pretty much just unrestricted fund balance as in number 3. Number 4, this will come from page 15. Your total revenues were $32.8 million, expenditures of $28.1. You had transfers to other funds of $4.6. So your positive change in fund balance was roughly about $80,000. Proprietary funds, I've combined these, so on page 17 you'll see the split between the 2 funds, and you can see the details, so that'll be on page 17 of the report. Total assets and deferred outflows were $3.9 million. Total liabilities were $2.3, which left a net position of $1.5. That's broken down between invested in capital assets of $900,000, and then your unassigned is about $668,000. Your revenues will be found on page 18. Total revenues for combined proprietary funds were a little over $2 million. The operating expenditures were 1.7, and then you had some other transfers of $200,000. So your positive change in net position for the proprietary funds was almost $530,000. Item number 5, this is going to come from page 73 through 77 of your report, so you can, this will give you details of all the revenue line items, and it will also give you the expenditures by department, so you can see how departments did as far as expenditures goes. Revenues were under budget by $161,000, and the reason that was the case, y'all had budgeted for the 23-24 year to use about $2.2 million of your fund balance reserves. That's how you balance your budget. Well, as you can see, you didn't have to do that. You didn't need them. So that's why that's showing as a negative. So if you pull that out, your revenues were actually over budget. Your expenditures were under budget by about 4.5 million, and then your transfers were over budget by about 4.3. So overall, it's a very good report. The county should be very pleased. I would kind of like to thank County Administrator Brian and Tommy and his staff, Liz and Haley and all the finance staff. They do a wonderful job, and council should know that. Y'all got a good staff here. They work really hard. We come in for about 2 weeks and we ask a lot of these people, and we demand a lot. And so we can be very disruptive to their day, but they're very responding. They get us what we need so we can get in and get out, and so we can get the audit done. And I just want to tell them how appreciative I am of that. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I do have one. I see the rural fire budget on page 76. Is there a report on the fire tax districts' budgets? There are several fire tax special purpose districts that I know you audited Richburg, so I know
Yeah,
that.
they're going to be, I believe, on page 22 of the report.
That's correct. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You got a good memory.
You got quite a few.
Are there any more questions or discussion? Really appreciate you coming
All right.
and presenting this to us.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
All right, so I think.
Thank
you're-
Mr. Darby,
Yeah, I was gonna,
so thank you.
go right ahead. That's what I was gonna do too, Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Darby, you, outstanding job. Thank you for what you do for the citizens of this county.
I want to thank you and your staff. And we know you have a really good staff, and we appreciate their work. He said it well. We know that they go above and beyond and responsive. I know he appreciates that. And so, thank you very much for your leadership there. So next, we don't have any boards and commissions tonight. So that brings us to executive session. 2 items. We have discussion of matters relating to the proposed location expansion or the provision of services encouraging location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body for Vista Resources LLC. That's item A, and item B is the same for project P 2493. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Second. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, raise your right hand